Alabama has flown directly to University Park, Pennsylvania this weekend, avoiding the long bus ride that sometimes beats Penn State's opponents before they arrive. Yesterday, for the first time, a visiting team worked out on the grass at Beaver Stadium. Unbeaten Penn State will have star running back DJ Dozier ready to play. Unbeaten Alabama will use 3 tailbacks, but the best one, Kerry Good, may still be partially injured. But Crimson Tide quarterback Mike Shula has been hot. The Nittany Lions' John Schaefer has not. And there lies the focus as Penn State hosts Alabama today on ABC. Meanwhile, in Dallas, Oklahoma is playing Texas as Barry Switzer tries to keep the Sooners' national title hopes alive. We'll have stories on those important games and more on College Football Today.
ABC Sports presents College Football Today. This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Coast Deodorant Soap. Coast works as hard as you. By Owens Corning. Our building products put your house in the pink. By Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's cooked the Colonel's special way. Kentucky Fried Chicken. We do chicken right. And by Champion Spark Plug Company, makers of Copper Plus spark plugs for your car, truck, boat, and motorcycle. And now, with today's scores and highlights, our studio host, Jim Lampley.
Hello, I'm happy to be back here after a 1-week hiatus. Let's tie together the whole college football situation. And remember that the poll that we use here is the UPI coaches poll, the one which does not rank SMU and Florida. The number 1 ranked team, the Hawkeyes of Iowa, have gotten off to a good start today against Wisconsin. Hayden Fry's team leading 10-0 in a stadium, Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, where Fry says they don't like to play. He claims they were pelted with eggs and beer there 2 years ago. Says he'll take his team off the field today if the same thing happens. But with the national title hopes on the line, I think that's a bit unlikely. Long has a touchdown pass. They lead 10-0. Oklahoma and Texas are tied up 7-7 in the Cotton Bowl. Texas got an early touchdown on a fumble play, and then Lydell Carr came back with an Oklahoma touchdown. We'll show you highlights a little bit later, but Beano Cook, this is certainly an important time of the year for Texas, which could rise in prominence with wins in the next couple of weeks.
No team has a 2-game stretch like this in October. I don't think so. Anyway, first Oklahoma, then on the road against Arkansas. Texas is in the running for the national title. I know everybody says I have everybody in the running for the national title, but Texas is in the running. Oklahoma next week has Miami of Florida, but at home, that's a big difference. Texas must go to Arkansas. A tough 2-game stretch for Texas. Which is one reason that Texas is always willing to move the Arkansas game to December for television. They don't like that 2-game stretch.
This year they didn't have to move. No. We're going to have them on television. 7-yard touchdown run narrowed the North Carolina State lead at that point in the ballgame to 10-7. And then with the score tied at 10-10 in the fourth quarter, Brian Davis, the sensational Pitt freshman, got the football for the first time all day and went 23 yards immediately for the run that put Pitt on top 17-10. They now lead it 24-10. Georgia Tech is playing Western Carolina and surprisingly having a difficult time. It's 17-10 in the third quarter. Wake Forest has a good shot at beating North Carolina coming in. That's what everybody said, right? Wrong. Kevin Anthony threw 5 touchdown passes in the first half for North Carolina, and they lead 34-0 in the third quarter. Virginia has never beaten Clemson in 24 tries, and now at Death Valley, Clemson, after trailing for most of the day, has gone back ahead 27-24. So a minor crisis in confidence, which the Cavaliers may or may not be able to overcome as they try to beat Clemson for the first time ever. South Carolina is playing Duke. It's 21-7 as the Gamecocks try to bounce back from 3 straight losses. Tennessee at Florida. Florida in the last few years 22-1-2 at Florida Field. They lead Tony Robinson and the Volunteers now 17-10 in the fourth quarter. It was 17-3, and Anderson has both Florida touchdowns. Indiana at Ohio State. Carcedos playing well again, and Woolridge has accounted for 4 touchdowns. That's the backup tailback. Byers still not playing. 35-7 Buckeyes in the second quarter. Illinois at Purdue, 0-0 second quarter. Minnesota at Northwestern. It is 21-10 Minnesota in the fourth quarter. No team in the Big Ten had a losing record coming into this week's action. Kansas at Iowa State, 18-10 Kansas in the third. TCU at Rice, and the Horned Frogs are trailing now, 17-13 in the third. Air Force and Navy, it is 14-0 favor of Air Force as they try for an unbeaten season. Halftime in that ball game. And we're ready now for our standard weekly feature of this telecast, the Nissan Report. First, let's take a look at what has transpired in the Cotton Bowl between Texas and Oklahoma. The Texas touchdown was scored when Troy Aikman tried to hand the football off to Lydell Carr deep in Oklahoma territory. Willie Nelson, one of the thousands who get sideline passes for this game somehow, and there you can see the ball popping loose, and Kip Cooper took it into the end zone for the touchdown that made it 7-0 Texas almost right out of the gate. But then Oklahoma came back with a long drive, Carr going in from 1 yard out, and it is 7-7. Oklahoma and Texas will be keeping you posted on that one throughout the day. A moment now to take a look at what's coming up here on ABC. Alabama at Penn State. Doug Flutie, you played at Penn State. What's it like?
It's a great place to play, a beautiful field, but there are 85,000 people in the stands, but it is not the intimidating factor that some people believe Beaver Stadium to be. It doesn't compare to Death Valley down in Clemson. It doesn't compare to playing between the hedges at Georgia. We've been down at Alabama before. Alabama is used to being in front of a crowd that's loud, noisy, boisterous. Penn State crowd may be, but the mountains seem to suck up that noise, and it's not as bad. It's not as intimidating as some other fields around the area.
And interestingly, Alabama had a good chance to win there 2 years ago and was not able to pull it off. Beano, what happens to Penn State if Alabama wins today? It'll mean that you were wrong that Penn State might play for the national championship.
That's true, but if Penn State wins, it's obvious that Penn State will go 11-0 for the regular season and will play for the national title on New Year's Day. This is a very important game for Joe Paterno, also for Alabama, but Alabama has tougher games down the road, even if they win today.
All right, we'll be back with a further look at some other developments in college football after this. With the perennial prominence of the two teams, Penn State, Alabama has become one of the more noteworthy rivalries in college football in a very short time. We start with the January 1 game in the Sugar Bowl, Louisiana Superdome, 1979. Penn State's 19-game winning streak and #1 ranking on the line, along with Paterno's shot at his first national title. It was 4th down goal inside the 1-yard line. The Tide leading 14-7. Less than half of the fourth quarter remaining. Mike Gooman up the middle. Marty Lyons, Barry Krause, Rich Wingo, and the rest of the Alabama defense keeping him out as Alabama thwarted Penn State's national championship hopes and won that last one of Bear Bryant's illustrious career. Then in 1982, Paterno finally got that national championship, despite the only loss on the schedule to Alabama at Birmingham, a loss partially facilitated by this Ralph Giacomo punt that hit the blocking back Mike Suter in the back and opened the gates for Alabama's insurance touchdown. A year later, Alabama's miracle rally at Penn State was stopped one touchdown short when an Eastern official said that this Preston Goddard catch of a Walter Lewis pass at the back of the end zone was not the touchdown it had appeared to be. Beano Cook, 7 officials at Oklahoma and Texas. Officiating at Penn State has traditionally been called into question anytime they have an intersectional opponent like Alabama. What's the situation now?
Well, in this game, it's not a split crew, Jimmy. It's strictly Eastern officials. But it should be pointed out that when the series started, Penn State said split crew, and Bear Bryant said, heck with that, let's just go, when you come here, Southeastern Conference officials, when we come there, East Coast officials. The reason is very simple. Bear Bryant isn't going to get the shaft anywhere by any officials. So it was East Coast, Southeastern Conference officials, and that's the way it's been. And last year when Alabama played Penn State in Alabama, it was all Southeastern Conference officials. There was no problem. And I don't think there'll be a problem today. That call 2 years ago, Jimmy, was just a bad call. One of those things. Those things happen. Unfortunately, it was on television. It was on another network. And it's now a famous play because it was on television.
It should be pointed out that Penn State and Alabama will play each other 5 more times in a rivalry that began in 1981 with regularly scheduled games and proceeds through 1990. So right now, for more on it, let's go to Keith Jackson in State College, PA.
Well, this is the day we find out about Alabama and Penn State football teams. How good are they? Do they deserve the lofty rankings after winning 4 straight games this season?
Extends its unbeaten streak to 15 games. The Gators winning 17-10. Ivy League. Brown at Penn. It is 14-14 in the fourth quarter. Harvard at Cornell. 7-3 Cornell in the third. Columbia at Princeton. Butler with a touchdown pass early to break a Kazmaier record. It is 31-0 Princeton third quarter. Colgate 35. Dartmouth nothing in the third quarter. Holy Cross at Yale. 12-7 in the third quarter. Very shortly I'll be back to bring you up to date on continuing games among major college football teams, and we'll be going back to Keith Jackson right after this word from your local stations.
District Michigan team that's been characteristic of them all year long. They have it now at Michigan State's 47, first down. Bob Perryman in along with Gerald White in the backfield. Jim Harbaugh to throw, and Colazar, the freshman, with his second catch of
Cars and trucks for over 50 years. For drivers who demand quality, the name is Nissan. Buy exceptionally smooth Michelob, the beer of choice for people who are moving up. Where you're going, it's Michelob. By Mutual of Omaha, people you can count on. And by GTE, we can do business with your business.
We're at Beaver Stadium on the campus of Pennsylvania State University, in the epicenter of the Keystone State. It is an overcast, cloudy day, the temperature in the 50s, and here Penn State is 4-0, ranked 6th in the nation, beat Maryland, Temple, East Carolina, Rutgers, all close game. Joe Paterno's 20th year, 180, 43-2. He has never had a losing season. And now, the Red Elephants of Alabama, wearing white today, come in from the other end of the stadium with a record of 4-0, ranked 8th in the nation, beat Georgia, Texas A&M, Cincinnati, Vanderbilt. Coach Ray Perkins' third year, his record is 17-10. It is a sellout. It could approach record proportions when the final tally is done. The tailgaters have been here for a day or longer, some of them. It is a game that many rate as a key game in the season for both these football teams, even though Alabama's future probably rests more so in the Southeastern Conference.
Quickly to update some important games. Oklahoma's gotten a long touchdown run in the fourth quarter from Patrick Collins, leads Texas 14-7. Auburn has pulled back away from Florida State after the Seminoles crept close with a field goal. Auburn with a Wygand reverse, it's 38-27. Temple beat Rutgers, Palmer over 100 yards for the 9th straight game. Pittsburgh has wrapped up its victory over North Carolina State, and the long streak of frustration for Virginia against Clemson continues, 25th straight time. Clemson beat Virginia 27-24. Back to Keith Jackson.
Okay, Jim, and we're ready to play football here at Penn State University. The referee is Jim Garvey. The teams have been called onto the field. Alabama will have the first offensive possession. Penn State won the toss, electing to exercise the option to receive the ball at the start of the second half. Alabama's return people, Bobby Humphrey is the key man, number 26. He has been filling in at the tailback position and doing very well, having had successive 100-yard games. He's a freshman. He can fly. Kicking off for Penn State, Massimo Mangta. His name may be called in a number of times today. He is a senior from Reno, Nevada, and he hits it high and deep, and there will be no return of this one. Alabama starts with Mike Shula at quarterback, good size, 6'2", 200. Chester Braggs, 6'1", 190, gets the call. Craig Turner is a 6-footer, 205-pound, hard-hitting fullback. Albert Bell, an exciting player, 170-pounder out of Los Angeles. Clay Whitehurst will be at the split-end position, opening ahead of Greg Richardson, who's dragging a leg a little bit for the hamstring pull. The first snap of the ball game coming as they go double wide with Whitehurst and Bell. Out of the eye, Shula pulls the trigger, first down Bama at the 20. It goes to Bragg, bounces outside. Got a block over there on the corner. I mean, it was a great seal block. He is cut down at the 37. Thornton Chandler is the tight end, 6'6" and 240. David Johnson at tackle, 270 pounds. David Gilmer at guard, 250. The center is Wes Neighbors, built like a tree, 250. The other guard is Bill Condon, builds at 240. And Larry Rose, a true freshman, 6'4", 275 at tackle. Ray Perkins has played 12 freshmen so far this season. 2 freshmen. It's second down and 3 for Alabama. Ball goes to the fullback, and Craig Turner trying to cut in over right guard behind Neighbors and Condon. Loses his footing and loses the better part of 2 yards. Bob White, Mike Russo, Tim Johnson, Don Graham, Shane Conlon, Trey Bauer, and Rogers Alexander, the big people. And literally only 2 of those people up there are true down linemen. The others are, in a sense, linebackers. And Hobbs, Hamilton, Zordich, and Isom would be the secondary starting for Penn State. So it is third down and about 5 now for Alabama. After Turner lost his footing, and Mike Shula goes back to throw on the third down play to the sidelines, and the pass is caught, and it'll be good for a first down up at the 32-yard line by Chester Braggs. The surprise, David Clark will start at the left halfback position for Penn State instead of Dozier. The ball goes to Steve Smith, a former tailback, now playing fullback, and Steve Smith turns on the Jets and picks up a first down. John Schaefer, the quarterback, 6'3", 210. Dozier, as he told you, did not get in the game for the first snap. Here's the man who just made the run, 6'1", 240, and a good one. Eric Hamilton is your flanker, 6'1", 195. And the wide receiver is Ray Roundtree from Aiken, South Carolina, a speedster. The ball near the 34, picked up at close to 14 yards by Smith, and the Lions now have some room. Smith drops back, hands it off to the tailback Clark, and Clark knifing up the middle gets 5 yards on the carry. Dean DiMedio, tight end, 6'3", 225. Mark Sickler, a tackle at 260. Mitch Farrat weighs in at guard, 250. Keith Radisek at center, 250. Todd Moles has played everywhere on the field, 6'2", 260. And Chris Conlon, 6'3", and 275. Typical Penn State football team, big and strong. And they'll run at you until you make them stop. Second down, close to 5.5. Ball goes to Clark. And Clark is up to about the 40 and wrestled down there. The Alabama defensive legion, 3 down linemen, John Hand, Kurt Jarvis, and Brent Saul. The linebackers are Randy Rockwell playing in place of Cornelius Bennett, Wayne Davis, Joe Godwin, Derek Thomas, who is a freshman outside. And the secondary consists of Freddie Robinson, Britt Cooper, Ricky Thomas, and Rory Turner. It's a secondary that runs to the ball very well. Third down, 4 for Penn State. Schaefer back to throw, gets heat, throws it out of bounds, incomplete. Number 87, Larry Roberts, who had come in on that particular play, a spot player for Alabama, got loose and was looping in and put the heat on Schaefer, and John dumped it. So
One-ranked Iowa is not having an easy time of it at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. Chuck Long, being forced to throw underneath, has under 140 yards passing through 3 quarters. Nevertheless, the Hawkeyes, with the solid defense, still lead it 20-13. We'll keep an eye on that score as we go through the rest of them. Oklahoma beat Texas to remain unbeaten, 14-7. Minus 24 yards rushing for Texas in the second half. And here once again, the winning touchdown, which was a 44-yard touchdown run. The running back Patrick Collins off the pitch from Troy Aikman. Tony Casillas, the outstanding Oklahoma nose guard in many regard as the leading candidate for the Outland and Lombardi trophies, was injured in the first half of that ball game and did not return. Meanwhile, another unbeaten team, which apparently is going to remain that way, is Michigan, getting a solid performance from Harbaugh. The Wolverines now lead Michigan State 17-0 in the third quarter. Florida State fell to Auburn 59-27. Bo Jackson on the day, 30 carries, 176 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If you've been with us all day, you know that Jackson has now rushed for 991 yards in 5 games. He fell 9 yards short of joining Marcus Allen as the only 2 men ever to gain 1,000 in the first 5 games of a season. San Diego State at BYU, and Brigham Young is up 14-0 in the second quarter. Temple beat Rutgers 14-13. Paul Palmer over 100 yards for the 9th straight game there. And North Carolina State fell to Pittsburgh 24-10. Pitt, oddly, did not pass for a single yard in the game, but 2 of their running backs had outstanding games. They lost Conjemi, the quarterback, to injury. 24-17 victory for Georgia Tech over Western Carolina on this weekend of the Centennial Celebration, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Georgia Tech University. North Carolina beat Wake Forest 34-14. Anthony with 5 touchdown passes for Carolina, 3 of them to Earl Winfield, one of the nation's best little-known receivers. Virginia fell to Clemson, 25th straight time that Clemson has beaten Virginia. 2 Clemson running backs had 100-yard games there, Driver and and Flowers. Duke at South Carolina. The Gamecocks bounced back from 3 straight losses to win it 28-7. Virginia Tech beat William and Mary 40-10. 2 running backs, Williams and Hunter, both over 150 yards. Florida got a big game from Neil Anderson, beat Tennessee 17-10. Florida alumni, remember, believe that Tennessee is one of the schools which gave information to the NCAA and the SEC during the long investigation of the Gator program, so that's a satisfying win for the Gator Boosters. Indiana at Ohio State. Woody Hayes is now listed in good condition after 2 weeks in the hospital, and the football team's in good condition even without Keith Byers, leading 48-7 in the 4th quarter. Purdue is beating Illinois 20-17 in the 3rd quarter. Everett with 3 touchdown passes in that game. Minnesota now 4-1 under Lou Holtz in his first season, beating Northwestern 21-10 in their first game at home, first game on the road, first game outdoors this year. Iowa State came back in the closing minutes, beat Kansas 22-21. Missouri is falling to Colorado. Woody Woodenhofer still winless at Missouri. Colorado got a chance to go 4-1 for Coach Bill McCartney, who was beleaguered coming into this year, but has had a hot start with this Buffalo team. 34-27 victory for Rice over TCU. That's the first Southwest Conference win for Rice coach Watson Brown, and a 24-7 win for Air Force over Navy, despite the fact that Navy was playing before the largest crowd ever to attend a game at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. Air Force remains unbeaten and untied on the season, and I'll be back with more scores right after this.
Charles Broxson.
As a historian, I know that all history has its high point. The high point of my very own life was a football scholarship at Pennsylvania State University. That scholarship got me started and enabled me to write some history of my own.
College football. It's doing a lot of good.
Leading Penn State 7-6, and we'll be going back there very shortly. Meanwhile, I go so fast sometimes I have to correct myself. I said this is Lou Holtz's first season at Minnesota. Of course it is his second. The Gophers were 4-7 under Holtz a year ago. In the Southwest Conference, Texas A&M is leading Houston 17-9 at halftime. Houston has had virtually no success over the years at Kyle Field and College Station. Hawaii at Wyoming, 13-6. Hawaii is leading in that football game. UCLA is at Stanford. Stanford, which scores over 31 points a game but gives up nearly 33, scoreless right now with the Bruins in the first quarter. Washington is at California. It's 7-3, and the Huskies lead in that football game against the unpredictable California Golden Bears. Washington State at Oregon State. That game is scoreless in the first quarter. Now, while some stations take this opportunity to break away for local news, we'll continue with more halftime activities. 17-14 on a field goal with 6 seconds remaining on the clock. Harvard at Cornell, and in that football game, it is Harvard leading Harvard winning it 20-17. Princeton beat Columbia 31-0, first shutout since a 1979 shutout of Columbia. Colgate got 721 yards total offense in beating Dartmouth, and Yale beat Holy Cross 19-15. We'll be coming back for more halftime activities and more of Alabama and Penn State right after this.
Things I do is make people's lives better. Something that certainly made my life better was my football scholarship at the University of Alabama. I'll never forget those days under Coach Bryant, and I'll never forget what that scholarship meant to me in allowing me to pursue my career.
College football. It's doing a lot of good.
At halftime, Beaver Stadium, State College, Pennsylvania, Alabama leading Penn State by a mere point, 7-6. Come to one of those games, Frank, where there are no highlights. There is one, however, we'll show you, and that is the reception by Al Bell from Mike Shula, 19-yard pass for the only touchdown of the ball game.
Well, Bell is going to cross all the way from the left side of the Alabama team to the right, and he somehow gets lost. He's so wide open, it has to be a breakdown in the coverage. Here's the catch. Good concentration by Bell as he pivots and catches the ball, spins, but there was a breakdown in the coverage.
I would think they got to pull the ball more to him.
Bell is outstanding. He was at All-American Junior College, the best junior college player probably in America. Alabama got him, and he has that ability to break a game open at any time. When you get a game like this, most coaches go conservative, and that's what we're seeing today. They're making some yardage, but the key, I think, and what's all important, is learn how to get the ball once they get down the 20-yard line, get it into the end zone. That's what they're talking about in the locker rooms right now.
And let us now enjoy the finale from the Blue Band, the Penn State University Marching Band, with Dr. Ned C. Deal, the director. And wrapping it up at halftime, teams ready to come back out. Play the third and fourth quarter. 7-6 ball game.
1-6 on grass surfaces since Mike White has been the coach there, and Everett and Purdue still lead in the game 23-17 in the third quarter, despite the fact that David Williams has caught his first 2 touchdown passes of the season for Illinois today. Now,
Penn State produces winners. At the #1 morning show, I'm Don Roy King. I'm the director of ABC's Good Morning America, and I am Penn State proud. At the #1 black network,
hi, I'm Ron Davenport, chairman of the board of Sheridan Broadcasting Corporation, and you can bet I'm Penn State proud.
And at a winning adventure series.
Hi, I'm Don Bellisario, creator of Magnum PI, and I'm proud to be a Penn Stater.
At Penn State, we're proud of our winning tradition.
As fun can be. That's what happened so far today with your top 10. You've got 14 minutes and 52 seconds to play in the ball game. Penn State leading by 5 points, 12-7. Away.
That was a lot of quickness by Humphrey, the freshman. Alabama, he gained more yards on that play than Alabama has made in the last 11 attempts. Only 8 yards in the last 2 quarters rushing.
Pretty good breeze now. Couple of guys that look familiar.
They sure did, Keith.
Jimmy Roberts and Johnny McGinnis, part of our ABC Sports. Keith Smith is a big man right now in the Penn State offense with 28 yards on the ground and 52 yards in pass receiving. This is Dozier reversing the ball to Simpson. And he's all the way across midfield to the 49 of Alabama, and there are 2 Alabama men down on the field hurt. What a call. Both of the TV liaison men could do it, but they're going to go to 6. And here goes the ball to Dozier, and Dozier gets outside. He gets down inside the Alabama 35 to the 34 for another Penn State first down.
Once again, Alabama overcommitted themselves. The play is coming to the right of the screen. Nothing there, but a great block. I think it was Bicycler blocking hand all the way across and out the back door.
And there's Joe Shirk on the sidelines. They're working on his knee as well. First down for Penn State. Inside it goes. Steve Smith. Inside the 20. First down Penn State at the Alabama 20.
Looks like that reverse play broke the spirit a little bit of the Alabama team.
I think Radisek has come running back on the field now, the starting center. And right now their concern is their quarterback, John Schaefer. Backing him up is Matt Kinzer. So all of a sudden here late in the ball game, both sides accumulating injuries. Key people.
Matt Kisner, Keith, has only thrown 1 pass this season. Number 7, He was in the running for the quarterback position up until the week of the first game when Joe Paterno decided he was not going to have the quarterback controversy and selected Schaefer as the starter. Schaefer is leading the ball game. Look about the pressure on this young man. The quarterbacks, as a rule, like that pressure. If they're any good, the last 5 plays, we've had 4 hurt players and 1 hurt referee.
Well, I think you'll see Schaefer come back. But right now, Kisner is in there. He is a junior from Youngwood, Pennsylvania. It is 3rd down at 1.5 yards for Penn State to get a first down. It's Dozier. And Kisner keeps the ball. Throws the ball. Completes it. Touchdown. Brian Cyberly.
What a gutty call. What a gutty call on 3rd and short to run a bootleg fake without a personal interference as a blocker. Kaiser is a better runner, much more speed than Schaefer. And Penn State quarterback coach, signal caller Joe Paterno decided he'll use that speed, roll to the outside, and Cyberland again was wide open for the TD.
I don't believe anybody in the ballpark expected Kisner to roll out and throw the ball having just come in. Everything was lined up. Everything was lined up for a Dozier dive. And Schaefer now comes running back on the field and calls a timeout.
I guess they would be thinking about going for 2 instead of 1.
I think that's exactly what they've got in mind.
I wouldn't want that. I want the 9 points, not 8.
You gotta like Matt Kisner's stats on the season. He's thrown 2 passes, completed both for 25 yards and 1 touchdown.
And 1 big touchdown.
They're not going to go for 2.
No, that would have been a mistake. You need 9 points.
Hankins' extra point kick is good. So now, your turn, Alabama. With 6:12 to play, 19-10 Penn State.
Play is a bootleg without a personal interference. Take all the backs to the opposite side. Kisner comes out without a personal blocker and fools everybody. Cyberland, the tight end, goes in for the touchdown. Alabama fooled completely because it was such a surprise play, a gutty call. Every once in a while, you've got to dare to do the unexpected. That's the perfect example of the results when you can do it and pull it off.
And so Penn State leading by 9 points. We're now kick off to Alabama. And we join Ken.
All right, let's quickly get up to date on what's happening on the West Coast. UCLA leading Stanford 13-3. John lead 2 more field goals. He's 13 of 13 on the year. Washington is leading California 14-3. Remember, Washington unbeaten in the Pac-10 despite the 2 early season losses out of the league. Washington State is leading Oregon 20-0. Mark Riepman having a big game there for Washington State. Back to you, Keith.
Well, time the Cougars get cleaned up.
Here's the only top 10 game on which we have not given you full details. BYU winning its 24th straight game in the Western Athletic Conference, 28-0 over San Diego State. Robbie Bosco on the day, 25 of 37, 254 yards, mostly the short stuff. And he threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for 1. So Bosco and BYU up the season record to 5-1, and with the 24th straight win in the WAC. Back to you, Keith Jackson.
That's a pretty good performance by the BYU defense because Todd Santo and company had run up 41 points on Stanford last week. Oh, it's first down, Penn State as they take over at the 35. And it's up to the Alabama defense now to shut down the Penn State running game, and they finally wrestle Dozier out of bounds at about the 37-38.
Wild game just over. Purdue has beaten Illinois. 3rd loss of the year already for Illinois. You think they have pitching in the National League Championship Series? Here is pitching. Combined today, Jack Trudeau and Jim Everett were 66 for 113 in the air, 877 yards and 7 TDs. Everett getting slightly the better of it as his team won 27 of 47, 464 yards, 4 TDs. David Williams caught 3 touchdown passes for Illinois, but in the closing minute of play, Illinois had the football at the 1-yard line of Purdue, and Trudeau's pass intended for Williams was batted down to preserve the Purdue victory. Back to you, Keith.
Hope they ice those arms down after that.
They're going to have to take a week off. Take a rest.
And here Chandler, 6'6". Might be a
Right down there, he's open.
There it is, touchdown, Alabama.
They've had it open every time, just couldn't hit it, Keith. Now they go for one, onside kick, and timeout, and they're in trouble.
State fair catching the ball. Now all they have to do is snap it one time, and the game is over. And the Penn State Nittany Lions have defeated the Alabama Crimson Tide by a score of 19-17. And 85,444 go home happy, though there were a few Alabama folk in the crowd. Pretty good football game between two good football teams. The Lions remain undefeated. And it's Penn State winning by 2 over Alabama, 19-17. Keith Jackson, Frank Broyles, Tim Brandt. The executive producer of ABC Sports is Rune Arledge. Coverage of today's game produced by Chuck Howard. Directed by Andy Sedaris. Our technical director, Jeff Suarez. Associate director, Jack Graham. Dave Bergson, our stats. Todd Barry, our sponsor. This ABC Sports Exclusive has been brought to you by the U.S. Army. A place to be all you can be. By AC Delco, General Motors Corporation, quality replacement parts for just about anything that moves. AC Delco, the smart parts. By Castrol, the motor oil designed for today's high-performance 4- and 6-cylinder engine. And by Denorex Shampoo, helps stop dandruff itch with an extra relief medicine, but it's gentle to your hair. Denorex Medicated Shampoo. Penn State 19, Alabama 17. Stay tuned now for updated highlights and scores of today's football action on College Football Scoreboard, the only airline to serve all 50 states. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports.